Kavanaugh comes in. And she starts doing the same thing. And then Lindsey Graham blows the whole thing up and he throws the table up, metaphorically. And then the GOP senators just fire her mid-committee.
Yep.
What was that?
That was no accident. Here's the thing. Look, I was not in favor of Ms. Mitchell being the one to ask questions, but she was there. I, as a former prosecutor, was embarrassed that she, as a professional law enforcement sex crimes prosecutor who has worked with victims, would partake in this sham, but she was there. And you know what? Dr. Ford got her story out. And even with Ms. Mitchell trying to cross-examine her, trying to poke holes in her, trying to show inconsistencies, nothing. Zero. They poked no holes that mattered. I mean, I think the biggest one, midway through was something about, whether she had wanted to fly there or not. I mean, totally inconsequential. Her story came out clear. She remembered the big picture, the important details, didn't know some minor things, but that's, she explained, and we all know it's common sense. That's how human memory works. But when it came time for Kavanaugh to testify, and Mitchell started doing the same thing.
She did.
She actually was asking him fact-based questions, and he was evasive, and he couldn't answer them, and they did not want that to happen. And that is why she got fired on the spot, because to the extent this was at all a fact-finding exercise, which I think, we've said many times on this show and others that it was pretty much a joke to call it that, but Ms. Mitchell actually added to that a little bit. Now, they were having none of that because he was not doing well with that. Once you got into facts with him, as soon as that started, he couldn't answer the questions, and so it had to get more political.
I will say this. She touched the stove, which was the calendar July 1st.
Yep.
She said, you got this thing on July 1st. Go to Timmy's for skis with Judge, the person who is in the allegation, and PJ, also who is in the allegation. That's a Thursday in July of the summer at a house with Judge and PJ and Brett Kavanaugh all together drinking. She got there, and that is when the blow-up happened and she was fired. Have you ever seen anything like what we saw in this hearing today?
No, I have not. I have never seen anything like outsourcing the questioning to someone else. I have seen a nominee decide to take the emotional reins of the hearing from a credible woman testifying about sexual misconduct, and that was in the Clarence Thomas hearing. And actually, the language that Brett Kavanaugh used in the beginning of this hearing was almost word for word the same language that Clarence Thomas used. He called this a circus. He called it a national disgrace. Those are the exact words that Clarence Thomas used. We saw 2 nights ago, John Danforth was on television saying Kavanaugh will have to bring his energy up. We know that President Trump wanted him to be more passionate, and we know his theory is deny, deny, deny. So he came loaded for bear today, and that was not unusual. That was consistent with what happened with Clarence Thomas, but I will say, in some ways, he took it to the next level. And I think Senator Gillibrand talking at the top of your show is absolutely right. The disrespect, the partisan disparagement, the arrogance, the lack of judicial temperament, the fulminating. We understand that this is a serious issue. We understand that this is an emotional issue. No one wants to be accused of something they believe that they did not do. I'm sure that he and his family have, in fact, suffered. But this is a sitting judge on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. It's not just